Most of the countries in the world don't have majority governments. Only in Canada, when I was there, we had 3.
He's back. That's former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien taking aim at Stephen Harper's quest for a majority government. Chrétien stopped to talk to reporters in Montreal today after delivering a speech there. So the Liberals owe Chrétien a great deal, a fact he apparently won't let them forget. But in a way, the Conservatives owe a certain elder statesman even more, because without Preston Manning and the movement he started, the party simply wouldn't exist in its current form. Now, Manning started, of course, the Reform Party back in 1987, tapping into disenchantment with Ottawa from Canada's west. By 1993, it had 52 seats in Parliament. By 1997, Manning became the leader of the official opposition. Later, he formed the Canadian Alliance and pushed to unite the right. So the Alliance merged with the Progressive Conservatives in 2003 to become the Conservative Party of Canada. I had a chance to speak with Preston Manning earlier today about the party he helped forge and whether he feels a majority is finally within its reach. Preston Manning, back in the day, you were pushing for this Conservative movement because you were saying the West wants in. Then you pushed for, unite the right. Now you see the Conservative movement, instead of dealing with issues out west, dealing with issues in places like Brampton. How do you feel about the movement that you were instrumental in creating, where it's gone and where it's going next?
Well, I'm pleased, Mark, in this sense that in order to actually do something rather than just talk, you have to have 155 seats in that parliament. And so I'm pleased to see the Conservative movement grow and the party start to conduct itself more like a governing party, not just an opposition party. In a governing party, you have to broaden out and you have to take into account the interests of all Canadians, regardless of whether they're part of your constituency or whether they voted for you or not. So I think what we're seeing is a maturing of the new Conservative Party, and I think that's a good thing for it and for the country too.
But tell us about the real politic of courting this so-called ethnic vote. I mean, how crucial is that really to creating a national party?
Well, it's increasingly with large numbers of newer Canadians making up the electorate, it's important. I don't think you have to. I think your basic approach is to appeal to those folks on many of the same themes that you appeal to others. Like we use this model, the mosaic model in Canada, and we've put a lot of emphasis on the individual pieces that make up a mosaic and give it its character and its color. But the other thing about a mosaic is that there's a common background on which those pieces have to be stuck and a common glue that holds them together. And I think Conservatives are finding that common ground is lower taxes, public safety, and honoring and respecting the family. And I think they're going to have a lot of appeal to folks in those communities as well as those outside.
And do you see the community, especially here in Brampton, as really being key to a Conservative majority?
Yes, I think I don't anticipate there'll be some huge breakthrough by the Conservatives in one part of the country or the other. I think it's more likely that they'll pick up 3 or 4 seats here and 3 or 4 seats there and hold on to their current seats. And if you pick up 15, they would have a majority. And so every one of those ridings is extremely important.
But as you mentioned, as the parties focus on some of these key ridings, it does sort of narrow some of the issues that are being dealt with in the campaign. What do you think are some of the issues that haven't been properly dealt with so far in this election?
Well, I think the Prime Minister in the debate the other night endeavored to focus on the economy, and I have to believe, particularly from talking to the pollsters, that for most Canadians the number one issue is the economy or some dimension of it, jobs, taxes, mortgage rates, whatever. And the more the campaign, particularly in the latter stages, focuses on the economy, I think the greater interest will attract from voters. To the extent it gets off on too many other issues, I think it'll get out of sync with where the voters' heads are at. So I think economy is the number one thing, including in those communities like Brampton.
And I just wonder, from your perspective, if the Conservatives are successful in capturing a majority in this election, would you feel some sort of satisfaction in that movement? As I say, you were at the ground level and building that foundation years ago.
Well, certainly we contributed to it. There's a lot of other people that have built on the aspects that we started. But yes, no, I'd have a lot of satisfaction. We sat around, a small group of us in Calgary in 1987, and said our objective is to get a majority reform-oriented Conservative government in Ottawa by the year 2000. Well, we're 12 years late and we're 15 seats short. So I'd take a lot of satisfaction if that hurdle was finally reached.
Preston Manning, great to talk to you tonight. Thanks so much for your time.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, Mark.
You know, many members of the Conservative government over the years got their start to cut their teeth in Manning's Reform Party, including none other than Stephen Harper.
We are here to help Preston Manning. We're here to fight Brian Mulroney and Jean Chrétien and Audrey McLaughlin.
That's right. Back in the early 90s, Harper didn't just play the Beatles. He kind of looked like one of them. And he was a Reform Party rock star. Manning hired him right out of university as the party's policy director, a role he held until 1992.